Over a lifetime, there are only 4 or 5 moments that really matter. Moments when you're offered a choice. To make a sacrifice, conquer a flaw, save a friend, spare an enemy. In these moments, everything else falls away. The way the world sees us. The way we... Why?
Spider-Man Web of Shadows has an awful story. This is one of the worst video game adaptations of Spider-Man. Now you may be wondering how I've determined this about a story built around player choice. For my breakdown, I'll be sticking with the hero path for the story, as that's representative of what's true to Spider-Man, versus his dark side that's meant to betray his character. The crazy thing is, even if you choose the hero side, he's not very heroic. The story begins with Spider-Man walking around as S.H.I.E.L.D. agents are literally being slaughtered by the symbiotes. Any one of them can use Spider-Man's help, but he decides to literally look the other way as they're getting killed. He doesn't even try to bring them any medical attention.
What's important is not standing by and allowing someone to suffer or die because you do nothing. If you don't get that, then you don't get the first thing about being Spider-Man.
It's strange because right after you ignore the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents dying, the game has you fight the symbiotes anyway, so you can ask the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents where Luke Cage and MJ are. So it makes it even more questionable why he was willing to ignore these S.H.I.E.L.D. agents in danger if they were useful in finding MJ. He also watches a S.H.I.E.L.D. carrier descending while on fire, then allows it to crash into the building without trying to reach it first. The S.H.I.E.L.D. agents face an explosion, causing one of them to fall down. This entire time while this was happening, Spider-Man is not moved. He literally just sat there and watched the crash and did nothing, and didn't even try to catch a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent falling after facing an explosion.
So we're just supposed to let people die?
You'll notice more and more of these issues build over time, where this version of Spider-Man is incompetent, irresponsible, and insane at times. We flash back to when this all started, where Venom confronts Spider-Man in the city. Now, randomly, out of the blue, Peter obtains a piece of the symbiote while he's being restrained, and uses that to break free and fight Venom. I'm not sure how he did that, but this motivates Eddie to try killing MJ.
You dare to take the other from me. I will take the girl from you.
But given that this game is adapting Eddie's Lethal Protector side, it doesn't make sense for Eddie to respond this way. Eddie has no reason to believe MJ isn't innocent, and he has a code against harming the innocent.
What about the innocent, Eddie? This is against everything you believe.
Eddie's moral code is also why he decides to sacrifice himself when he regains control. So why was he willing to have MJ killed?
I like being bad. It makes me happy.
MJ gets helped by the medics and is driven to the hospital, and a gunshot happens nearby the hospital. Now the sequence of events here is strange because the shooting already started before the medics left the vehicle, and Spider-Man was following the transport. So he lands on top of the vehicle instead of dealing with the gunfight that could spray bullets nearby, and has to be told by a medic to stop him, and he responds with, okay, as if he wasn't alert.
You! Stop those lunatics! Yeah, okay.
Spider-Man then arrives at Kingpin's secret base, where the Vulture is revealed to be designing tech for him. For some reason, Spider-Man just stands there and talks to him despite Vulture being vulnerable to webs right now. This enables the Vulture to activate his wings and attack Spider-Man.
You gotta get better at this part of the job.
Spider-Man eventually stops Vulture and decides to web him to the wall, but for some reason Spider-Man allowed him to keep his wings despite the fact that they could cut through his webs, which is probably why we see Vulture again later in the story despite Spider-Man leaving him for the cops. He made it too easy for the Vulture to escape.
You know we're supposed to catch the bad guys, right?
Later on, Spider-Man takes on civilians that are being taken over by something. He doesn't know the cause yet, but he knows that they are civilians nonetheless, so instead of detaining them like he would with his supervillains, he decides to throw one of them off the building, and when the cops aim guns at him, he throws another civilian off the roof while trying to explain himself to the cops.
Hey! That's not how we do things! Downtown!
This is insane. Spider-Man just killed 2 civilians under mind control, and he didn't even try to save them from the fall, which he did with Black Cat earlier. He also tried to stop the rival gangs from killing each other. He also criticizes Black Widow for shooting Electro.
You didn't have to shoot him.
But all of a sudden, Spider-Man is okay with throwing civilians off a building? Are you insane?
Dude, are you sure you're even Spider-Man?
The crazy part is that he doesn't even feel bad about it afterwards.
I get attacked and then I get shot at. How's that fair?
It actually gets so much worse.
You have much to answer for.
I do?
This guy is a psychopath. He threw civilians off a roof, he didn't try to save them, and he doesn't even feel bad for it. He's surprised that he has to take accountability for killing civilians.
You realize how messed up that sounds, right?
Those people on the roof.
There was a reason for that.
What? What are you, stupid? What are you talking about?
There can be no reason for throwing innocent.
It wasn't Moon God vengeance, but it was something that needed to happen. I didn't let anyone get hurt.
I'm sorry, you didn't let anyone get hurt?
Let's look at the tape.
They're not normal. They might... I get attacked and then I get shot at. How's that fair?
Got you, fuckface.
You took a great risk. The authorities.
Usually want to shoot me anyway, if we want to be honest.
Spider-Man. You killed people. They should take you in after that. The fact that Peter doesn't even show remorse for his actions and even justifies it makes him look like a complete psycho. Even if a situation was written where Spider-Man accidentally kills someone, he shouldn't just brush it off. It should haunt him, the same way it haunts him that Ben died because Peter failed to act.
Look, I have to find out if there are others like those people on the roof.
Why? So you can kill them too?
I thought you were supposed to save people.
Wolverine shows up because Spider-Man doesn't smell right, since he has the symbiote within him. This leads Wolverine to fight Spider-Man, and he has a really stupid line of questioning. He asks him personal questions that only Peter would know, like his parents' names. But even if Peter gave all the right answers, that wouldn't prove that Peter isn't being manipulated by the symbiote like the others are, because the symbiote doesn't erase your memories. So seeing if Peter remembers his life doesn't actually tell you anything.
Not a great plan.
Spider-Man eventually finds Venom and discovers that Venom is behind the mind-controlled symbiotes.
You took away part of us, but that just made us stronger. We should grow.
Eddie, that's not right.
Eddie, we don't listen to Eddie.
How does taking a piece of the symbiote make Venom stronger? How does that make Eddie lose control entirely? If anything, the symbiote should be less capable if there's less of it on Eddie. Unless the piece Peter took is so small that it's negligible to Venom? I'm not sure, but regardless, it's strange how taking a small piece from Venom made Eddie lose control and made Venom stronger, and suddenly powerful enough to create a symbiote army. If that's how it works, that makes me question how Venom could possibly lose if taking a small piece of him makes him more powerful. He becomes a giant at the end, and Peter is constantly attacking it, and simply fighting Venom is all it took for Peter to remove a piece of Venom's symbiote earlier. Shouldn't Venom be getting more powerful? Shouldn't it be less easy for Eddie to regain control? He suddenly does at the end, despite the fact that the symbiote has taken over him entirely and only gets more powerful throughout the story. For some reason, Eddie can climb into a turbine to sacrifice himself even though the symbiote would still be in control. It's also really weak character writing to have this redemption for Eddie Brock at the end, yet they give him zero agency to make any of these decisions. We start out with Eddie having control over the symbiote, which means he has his moral code of not hurting the innocent. The symbiote takes control and makes it so Eddie is no longer listened to. Then at the end, Eddie suddenly regains enough control to wake up, see that people are getting hurt, then sacrifice himself for the world. Eddie didn't actually change as a character, so this final redemption is shallow. He just regained control for no reason and saved the day out of nowhere. And beforehand, the symbiote is just a one-dimensional conqueror that wants to take over the world. It's the exact same problem I have with Venom in Marvel's Spider-Man 2, though I'd argue that version is more inconsistent than this one. Venom's overall plan is confusing as well. Given how many superhumans exist in this world, wouldn't he first want to target superhumans? Why doesn't he go to Rikers and infect Rhino alongside any other supervillains that may be there? Not to mention that Venom could try this on other superheroes before he openly reveals his plans to invade the city. Luke Cage or Wolverine would be insanely overpowered on his side. For most cases, all it takes is for one symbiote to pretend to be a normal civilian, which Electro's sister literally does so they can do that, and transfer the symbiote onto a superhero that shows up to any crime that Venom could set up. You can even infect a SHIELD agent, have them pretend they belong here, and eventually get a higher ranking member infected, such as Nick Fury. In fact, Venom should have this interest with government leaders in case they try to retaliate against the invasion. Imagine if they sent any kind of explosives to target these symbiotes, which are established to be weak to fire in the game. It's also strangely inconsistent how these symbiotes affect people. For Eddie, it eventually takes away all of his autonomy, but it's not able to do this right away. Eddie has been Venom for quite a while, and Peter wasn't forced to take over the world when he had the symbiote on prior, as well as whenever he wears the symbiote in this story. But for all of the civilians, he turns them and literally all of them into his sycophants pretty effortlessly. And if the symbiote is powerful enough to do this by now, why hasn't it happened to Spider-Man? Just because the symbiote isn't literally out right now doesn't mean it wouldn't affect him. It can still be active and hide within your system. It does this with Electro, it does this with Wolverine, it does this with Venom, who has the same exact symbiote Peter has, but it doesn't force Peter to do what it wants. So Peter agrees to this plan to find the Tinkerer, break him out of prison, and use him to create a bomb to destroy the symbiotes without hurting civilians. So Peter's plan to do this involves using Rhino as a battering ram to get through the security doors, and when he releases Rhino, he rams into and possibly kills a group of guards. That plan is insane and will get the attention of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the law enforcement anyway. From there, how is he planning to find a lab with resources that the Tinkerer can use? He might as well try reaching scientists in the city that can freely access resources without being hunted by the law, or have other superheroes put out to the world of what Venom's weaknesses are. S.H.I.E.L.D. should have access to flamethrowers or sound devices like megaphones to amplify symbiote weaknesses. But nah, instead let's rely on the Rhino crashing through several walls in the prison when there could be people behind that get killed.
Scale of 1 to 10. How are we doing? 10 for generating spectacle, 1 for minimizing destruction. Tomorrow's bugle headline's gonna be a doozy.
Later in the story, Wolverine says he made a trap for the symbiotes.
Made a little trap for the creepy crawlies. They come to get at the parishioners inside, but then I ring the bell. It stuns them. Then I can chop them up by the dozen.
For some reason, Spider-Man doesn't push back on this when Wolverine implies he was killing innocent people with his trap. Just a reminder that Wolverine said he would chop up Spider-Man if he's being controlled by the symbiote.
If that thing gets control over you, gutting is still an option. Got me?
So if Wolverine is chopping up the symbiotes after stunning them with the bell, he is killing the host since they have no protection. Spider-Man has nothing to say about this, even though he should if he has a rule not to kill anyone. Wolverine then gets a symbiote to fight Spider-Man, and considering that Wolverine now has Venom's powers and his healing factor, he should pretty much be unstoppable. The most Peter could rely on is the bell, but Wolverine removes it from the church and ends up destroying it. So because of that, Peter is done for. He shouldn't be able to win this fight. He shouldn't be able to get Wolverine to cut open the symbiote from himself. He would heal after each of Spider-Man's attacks and has an increase in his strength, durability, and stamina.
See you on the other side. Promise me, no more dark suit.
I promise.
So this is another general problem for me, but why doesn't MJ tell Peter to remove the symbiote himself? If Peter has worn the symbiote before, he would know that all he needs to do is just gain access to a bell to remove it. And I don't think MJ would just accept Peter saying that he will when she knows that the symbiote manipulates its host. She would want to see him take it off and destroy it, which Peter never does. So I don't know why she just lets him off. I don't know why this isn't entertained this entire story. And that brings us up to date, where Peter let a bunch of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents die. Much of the story involves Peter taking out the symbiotes, and it eventually leads to him freeing the civilians of the symbiotes. Thankfully, he didn't kill them this time. Okay, so earlier it was clearly stated that Peter removing the symbiote from Venom made him more powerful, which enabled this entire invasion. But now, all of a sudden, Venom is acting like Spider-Man is necessary to complete their mission? Why? They already have his power. That's what symbiotes do when they bond with a host. They adapt their powers. This happened with Electro. This happened with Vulture. Why is Spider-Man still needed? Now Peter retorts with a refusal and Venom just immediately concedes?
Over my dead body.
Okay, so now Venom is fine with killing off Peter and calling it a day. We went from Venom needing Peter to finish off his mission for some odd reason, to Peter refusing, to accepting Peter's refusal like it wasn't a big deal in the first place. Which is it? The story ends with Spider-Man reaching out to help Eddie, only for Eddie to sacrifice himself at the end. That's basically the end of the story, so I'm just gonna move on to conclusions. This story has a lot of issues. Peter Parker is severely damaged as a character. Venom is one-dimensional and very inconsistent. Eddie's redemption is shallow and rushed. The plot makes no sense, and the world building is iffy at best. Although this story isn't as bad as Marvel Spider-Man 2's story, there are very clear similarities in terms of the issues these stories have, though I definitely say that Peter is considerably more damaged than Web of Shadows. I'd give this story a 2 out of 10 overall. Let me know what you think in the comments, check out some of my other Spider-Man reviews, and let me know what you'd like to see next. I'll see you all later. Goodbye.